Welcome everybody to the Barn Burner with the BernDawg himself and the Pig, myself, Brendan the Pig Plotnick. We are showcasing our MMA show, UFC 259, 3 title fights. I was discussing the other day. I was golfing with some buddies, and I was like telling everybody I'm having people over. I just moved into a new house. I'm excited. I was like, I think this is gonna be this is the best UFC card ever. And they all like 3 of them looked at me. They're like, ever, and I was like, maybe.
I mean, right off the bat, I'm thinking of UFC
At least,
100.
I mean, it's recency bias, but you know what I mean.
Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping.
Dude, I remember that card specifically. I bet Brock Lesnar.
That was you were betting in high school, you little degenerate.
Of course I did. Why do you think I started a fucking gambling podcast?
Well, we got a hell of a burner for this week, so
no. But what the only thing I could think of that was any better was the first Fight Island card last June or whatever it was. I believe the first one. There was I think there was 2 title fights.
Fight Island's all just blurring together at this point.
I know. It was I'm talking about the Aldo Petrion card.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of title fights. So either way, I mean, before we get into UFC 259, because there's so much to fucking cover, I did want to just give a little recap like we typically do about some of the previous podcasts that we have recorded. So the latest one, sorry, not that we recorded, some of the latest cards that we've gotten to watch. So we haven't recorded because they've been a little bit of low-key cards, but Lewis versus Blades, I hit on Lewis as a huge underdog in the main event. I told you, I was texting you. You didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm riding Lewis.
You got me to do it though, so I'll take that cash.
Big hit there. And then in the co-main event, Yana Kunitskaya over Vieira, hit on that as a huge underdog too. That was crazy. And we'll talk a little bit
right and left. Any lean you saw, just boom,
boom, boom. And I guess, just apropos that we're talking about her, because as we get into UFC.
4 dog hits.
Yeah, I hit some big dogs. But I was saying the irony of talking about her is El Marreta is going to be on this card, and we'll talk about him pretty shortly. That is her husband. So we'll be talking about Thiago. If you just look at it, just look at them. I looked at a picture. I was texting you. I was like, they're going to have some funky looking babies.
Dirty talk in the bedroom's got to sound so weird. An angry Russian and a Brazilian shouting in Portuguese.
Seriously, it must be pretty aggressive. And then the Rosenstrike card, man, what a disappointing main event. I was all over Rosenstrike. I cash cropped him on Bet the Farm podcast. Really disappointing effort by him. It was one of those fights kind of almost reminiscent of, Stylebender.
Reminiscent of Louis Nagano.
Yeah, just standing there, just doing nothing, just waiting for it to get hit.
We use that line all the time, and it keeps coming up.
I know.
You know what I mean?
But the irony is right before that, I was on a heater. I hit on Ankalaev. I hit on Montana De La Rosa and an underdog. I hit on Munoz. I hit on Caceres. I dominated that main event. It was nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. I took a little bit of a backseat. I gave you some leans, but, I'd say at least 4. You gave me at least 4 bets while we were going along the way. So it's nice to have a profitable card even now and then. But I'm going to have to rag you here. You need to put them out, brother. Give the people what they want.
Well, that's why we're making this podcast tonight, so that we could seriously give the people the flag plants that they deserve. We call them flag plants for 2 reasons. 1 is pure confidence. 2 is, what else grows on a farm but plants. So let's get right into it, man. We got UFC 259, Israel Stylebender Adesanya headlining against Jan Blachowicz. We got Amanda Nunes continuing her big run facing Megan Anderson. That I don't even know how much to talk about that from a gambling perspective, considering she's minus 1,200. And then my boy, another title fight, Petrion versus the Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling. I'm really excited to talk about all these fights, but that's just not it, man. The whole entire card is sick. We've got what they're voicing as the next Khabib also on the main event. Santos, we already alluded to, but that's just the main card. Before we get to the main card, let's talk about some fights that we like on the prelims. The prelims will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, so it's not like one of those afternoon cards. We're going to get the real shebang this time around. What do you like?
Well, we'll start on the early prelims. I don't want to talk too much about it, but even the early prelims there's some great fights. I specifically want to narrow down Carlos Ulberg, who is the next comer out of City Kickboxing. All he does is train with Stylebender and Dan Hooker, so you know that's a recipe for success. He's a lengthy kickboxer. And he just absolutely demolished his opponent in Dana White's Contender Series a few months ago. So he's fighting Kennedy Zichiku. Kind of off that one, but we're gonna give it a shot. He is actually a lengthier guy, which is hard to say because Ulberg is 6'4", but he's a lengthier guy, a very big light heavyweight, who I see slowing down in the later rounds. It's going to be interesting, but we don't have a lot of tape on either of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and take, they say you are who your friends are. So I'm going to go with the young stud out of City Kickboxing. He's minus 245. So we're going to try to find him by KO. They don't have lines out this early, but try to find it. It'll probably be somewhere around even, maybe a small dog, plus 120, something like that. But if we can get him by KO, that's what we're looking for.
I like that. So I'm actually looking now down to 245. Maybe sharp money's coming in because I know you and I had discussed before the show, but I mean, both of them really nice records. Both of them, the other guy in Zechku, I'm never going to say his name right. I'm just going to call him Nzechu. And he has like a 6-inch reach on him. He's got about 5 inches with his legs. He's a big, lengthy guy out of Nigeria, but I can never doubt a guy that's been trained by, Stylebender and Dan Hooker. So minus 245, you're feeling that one, or you're going to go with only the KO?
We'll see. It really depends if I can get that line. I probably won't go minus 245 in a light heavyweight. If I do, I'll throw him in a random parlay. You know what I mean?
I'd say him in the under. I mean, it's plus 135 the under, so that's a nice parlay piece.
It is, but we also got to remember that Ulberg's only had one fight, so he might be trying to get cage time too. You know what I mean? We don't know exactly what his strategy here, and if he trains with guys that are long and lengthy already, and that are better than him, he's probably going to at least try to negate that type of fight. So, like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time here. It's just a lean following a stud out of a young camp. Dude looks like the Terminator, the Spanish Terminator. So we're just gonna go with our gut here and not think too much into it. Throw it into a parlay or take him by KO. If you want to go with the under, again, you're taking your risk there, adding the under in. I like by KO or TKO better because it gives us the extra late rounds. But hey, to each his.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, that's just the prelims. So let's just jump right into the actual prelim card because it's actually stacked, and we already know that the main event is going to take up a lot of time to discuss because of how good it's going to be. I think the first fight that needs to be discussed, Askarov. I hate this guys like this that their name is their last name, Askarov. Not tight, not tight. Facing Joseph Benavidez, an absolute veteran. Really legendary flyweight, has wins like beating Henry Cejudo. This guy is not someone to
championship fighter. He contended for the belt twice.
Correct. And actually against Figueroa, who back-to-back losses, TKO and then a submission against Figueroa. But I believe he also drew with Brandon Moreno. So if he can go the distance and draw with Brandon Moreno, I think that he's got a puncher's chance versus anybody. But I know Askarov, I fucking hate that name, is someone to keep an eye out. Another Dagestani, undefeated in his career, never lost. He has one draw only. I was looking at the better market. This is going to be a pretty tight fight. What are you liking?
I do have a bet here. I'm going 1 unit on minus 130 Askarov. He drew with Brandon Moreno, A lot of people thought Moreno won that fight, but he came out and dominated Tim Elliott and Andre Pantoja, who are Tim Elliott's fighting on this card, but we just watched Pantoja not too long ago. They're both legit fighters, and he just kind of,
Yeah.
wrestled him around, threw him around, used his grappling to his advantage.
Wait, so you're telling me he acted like a Dagestani?
He acted like a Dagestani. It's crazy, right? Well, we're not going to dig too much into it. Joey Benavidez is at the end of his career run. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If he gets this win, then he might get back into title contention, but I don't think he's got the frame to hold off the Sambo style wrestling of the Dagestanis and Askarov specifically, who's shown that he can do that for 3 rounds, no problem. Maybe if it went to 4 and 5, you could see more trouble from Joey Benavidez, but I just don't have too much confidence in 1, his chin anymore, and 2, his overall wrestling game. You know what I mean? He's more of a
I mean, we're looking at a flyweight bout, number 2 versus number 3. Obviously, we already know Figueiredo has beaten Benavidez twice and has a recent draw with Moreno, and they're running it back this summer. So this is 2 versus 3. It kind of feels like Askarov has the true opportunity to win this and give himself a title shot. So I feel like he's got more to fight for, because Benavidez wins, they're not giving him another title shot.
Yeah, and especially if Moreno wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then it makes it a lot more interesting.
I just don't see them not rematching Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo if it's a good fight again.
You know you're talking about going for a trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, there's who else at 125 is going to fight for the belt? Cody Garbrandt, you know what I mean? Maybe, but I think they're going to pursue Cody Garbrandt, TJ3. That's a big moneymaker. You know what I mean?
And there's a lot of bad blood there. So there's a lot to digest in that flyweight division at the moment. We also don't know if Cejudo ever decides he wants to come back. I mean, really everything changes. And where's Aldo?
I don't know, man.
I'm saying there's a lot going on in this division. TJ, you got to think TJ is getting a big fight soon. I mean, that's a big draw. TJ is probably the biggest name in the division, straight up. I know Figueiredo maybe as of late became the star, but TJ is the star. Like, he is the golden child. You know, Dana loves him.
I mean, we're talking about 2 different divisions here, though. I mean, Figueiredo's 125.
Right. There's just so much going on. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's the flyweights are, there's not too much going on there. So I'm going to take the Dagestani, who's hungry to attack this fight. You know, it's going to be a boring fight. It's absolutely going to be a boring fight, but I think we can capitalize on a line that is giving Benavidez credit for, you know, his career when he's in a different state in his career, I guess you could say, if that makes sense. He's on the downturn, and they're giving him a line that respects a little too much, even though he's just coming off that championship loss. I just don't think it's a good matchup for him. So, speaking of
I got so excited about the bantamweight conversation. I started intertwining the 2 divisions. I got all fired up.
I mean, they've been going up and down. Cody's been going up and down, so I know. I can see how you went into bantamweight here, but I know you got to lean on this next one. Song Yadong, love saying that name, versus Kyler Phillips, who might have the coolest nickname on the card, the Matrix.
I saw that too. But also realize who he's fighting. He also has the sickest nickname ever, the Kung Fu Monkey. Are you kidding me? Song Yadong. His name is sick, and he's got the sickest nickname maybe in the UFC. But the Matrix is pretty dope too. Kyler also, I love his style. He's kind of got, you know, that old school hippie vibe going. He used to have some long hair. He loves to rock some weird funky shades to like his interviews and to his weigh-ins and stuff. Kyler, really interesting. Obviously, he's really new to the UFC. He's only got a few fights in there. Song Yadong, undefeated in the UFC. The guy truly has actually beaten some decent names. You know, a nice win over Marlon Chito Vera, had a draw versus Stamen. Some really good fights. He's a striker. They're going to both stand there and strike.
5-1 in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, but I believe Kyler was a Contender Series guy, and he has only fought twice, I believe, in the UFC thus far, and I believe they were both wins. So it's going to be a good standing striking fight. I think this might be one to really eye a nice, just like a fun fight to take on an over. I think they're nice boxers. Song Yadong, not the type that has, incredible power. I'm personally still going to ride Song Yadong. I think he's going to win by decision. I just think that Murray has never fought any true competition to the level of Song Yadong. Sometimes, and we know this, we've seen it plenty of times. These Chinese boxers are so underrated. They always go in there. They're such great strikers, and I just think he's just going to piece them up. It's just going to be a decisive points victory. So I'll be putting 2 units on Song Yadong, or
I
the Kung
gotcha.
Fu.
I gotcha. I mean,
I'll
I'm
call him the
feeling
Kung
there
Fu
just
Monkey.
one unit. The Kung Fu Monkey. I love it. I mean, he has wins over. He has a win over Cheeto Vera, which is very, very respectable. I mean, we all see what Cheeto Vera is doing now, and you know, I just think the more cage time somebody has, the more the higher level that they're going to fight to as the fight goes on. So unless Kyler Phillips stops this early, I think that Yadong takes over in the later rounds. You might see a very exciting, maybe he rocks Song Yadong early or something like that. But I think as the fight gets later, the experience factor is going to kick in. And like you said, we think it's going to go to decision here. So that favors the more experienced fighter in the end of the day. So I'm tailing with 1 unit.
All right. Well, next up is the legend himself, Dominic Cruz. And I know I've been talking a lot about the bantamweight division, so I mixed them up for a second because they all kind of look the same. But Dominic Cruz getting back in the octagon on short notice, truly, over Casey Kenny. He's a slight underdog at plus 110. Casey Kenny is minus 137. We've seen Casey Kenny as of late. He's actually been fighting a lot during this pandemic period. I think he's fought twice already. And Cruz, obviously, 6 years since the last time he's fought that wasn't a title fight. How crazy is that? First of all. And secondly, outside of that, first time he probably hasn't been on a main card in, I don't know, maybe a decade. He's on the prelim card. He said he's got no ego. He doesn't care. To me, that personally doesn't sound like a man too confident. I don't have any feel here because Dominic Cruz's style is very hard to predict. He's a kind of a jack of all trades. He can stand, he can grapple, he can wrestle. What do you like?
I have Cruz here. I mean, I thought that ring rust would be a problem for him, but then he comes back and ends up winning.
Obviously, we all know that we all thought that they stopped that fight early.
Yeah. I mean, it was also Henry Cejudo has shown that it's so hard to fight a guy like Henry Cejudo, who all you're thinking about wrestling it, and then out comes these almost unorthodox boxing that really people really struggle with.
Well, but it was the knee, it was the flying knee that really put it to rest.
I mean, I'm going to do the opposite of how I'm capping Benavidez here, and I'm just going to ride Dominic Cruz based off of his past. You know what I mean? There's been a 4-year gap, and he fought in May, which is worrisome for me. But the difference here is that he's not fighting a wrestling Dagestani. You know what I mean? He's fighting a stand-up fighter who switches his grappling with his outside cage control and strikes very well. So I just think that he's fought too many times, like you said, championship fights. If it goes into deep waters, he's going to be a favorite there as the fight goes on, and he kicks off some of that ring rust. But I think he got his fight out of the way. He looked pretty damn good against Cejudo, even though Cejudo was kind of dominating the fight for somebody who hadn't fought in 4 years. I just think that we don't have that bad stylistic matchup. So we're going to believe in his career and what he's done in the past and what we can do and what as opposed to when you're fighting a Dagestani wrestler who's just going to take you down and ground and pound you and just not let you breathe. He shouldn't have those problems. He should be able to get in flow state and kind of pick this guy apart as we get into the second and third round.
I love that cap. I love the cap. Well, we got the prelims out of the way. Let's get to the good stuff here. The main card of UFC 259. It's going to be we got to kind of fly through these first two fights because we got 3 title fights to talk about. But the first one up, we already talked about it. Thiago El Mareta Santos. The guys Mareta. I love that nickname, and his tattoo is so dope. But against Alexander Rakic, Rakic is a minus 167 favorite. Thiago Santos at plus 138. To me, this line looks disrespectful. I think that nobody is, or I think that the odds makers are doubting the fact that because Santos hasn't won in 2 years, I think they're overlooking some of the big wins that he has in his career. Of course, he's coming off a loss to Teixeira, and that was after a big layoff when he got his knees broken by John Jones. But this is a guy who's beaten Jan Blachowicz. Last loss that Blachowicz has was to him. This is a guy that's beaten Eric Anders, beaten Kevin Holland, beaten Mearshart, beaten Hermanson. This is a guy not to fuck around with.
Anthony Smith, Jack Marshman, Nate Marquardt.
I mean,
Elias Nardo. Holy shit.
He is 37. That can't be overlooked. But that line just seems a little off to me. I don't know how I feel about it. Rakic, obviously we haven't seen that much of him. He hasn't been in the UFC too long, but he does have a style that may not work well for Santos because he's got a lot of wrestling in his arsenal. You might see him clinch a lot, try to keep it on the cage, try to bring him down as much as often, because what do we know about El Mareta? What's he going to do? He's going to throw the fucking hammer, and either he's going to hit you with the hammer or he's probably not going to, or he's going to gas himself and he's probably going to get his ass taken down and just sat.
Only 3 rounds. Only 3 rounds. That's what we can't forget. You know what I mean? The last few times he's been fighting main events or title fights where it's 5 rounds where we got to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that.
That's a good point. His last 3 fights were main events. Actually, 4 of his last 5.
Yeah, exactly. So now he can really go out there, unleash in the first round and still have gas in the tank for 2 and 3. I'm on Santos here for another unit. Like you said, he's coming off fighting he's coming off fighting 2 title contenders, so including John Jones, who is the GOAT. So Rakic hasn't seen nearly the level that Santos has. But I do agree with you. It's not a great stylistic matchup, just due to the clinch work of Rakic. He does some great work there. That's going to be tough to stay off the fence and stay at a length where he can hit Rakic. But I just think you can't forget about the one-punch knockout power of Santos. He clipped Jan Blachowicz barely with a big jumping left hook, and he went to bed. Tucked in. Good night. And I don't think Rakic has the striking defense to defend, and I think we'll see a more patient El Mareta here. I think he's going to explode intelligently and try and use the aggressive grappling of Rakic against him. You know what I mean? Catch him when he tries to clinch. Catch him on the way out with elbows. You know what I mean? Find those punches on the way in that might lead to a big knockout here. I would not be surprised if you're looking for more juice. Santos by knockout, go for it. That's a great dog. It'll probably be somewhere in the plus 200s. Because he is an underdog. But
is this your BernDawg? Is this your BernDawg bet?
This will be my BernDawg. That it will be. There's not a lot of big underdogs here, and we can't bet against Stylebender in this house.
You're not gonna take Megan Anderson, dude?
Yeah, sure. Sure. That's like betting against freaking Mike Tyson. Although if you bet on Buster Douglas, you're a rich man.
That's true. Nah, all right. BernDawg's dog. We're going with
Santos plus 135, 1 unit. Throw it in.
All right. I'm honestly tailing that. I was going to take it regardless, but like I said, I mean, he's the number 2 ranked light heavyweight in the division, and he's plus 137 against number 4. I know he's coming off 2 straight L's, but like I
Maybe
said, to
5 rounds
me,
with John Jones.
I'm all about the value, and to me, that screams value.
Yeah, disrespectful line for sure.
Well, let's move on from the light heavyweight to a lightweight bout. We have got Drew Dober. Oh my God, is this guy ever going to get out of my life? Good grief! Ever since I started watching UFC, this guy's been there. Versus Islam Makhachev.
Makhachev.
The line, I was actually on UFC's website because they have a partnership with DraftKings, but they don't have a line on there at this.
345 last time I looked.
Yeah, I saw that Makhachev is a massive favorite, which is rightfully so. We kind of prefaced it a little bit earlier. DC, Daniel Cormier, and Khabib himself, Nurmagomedov, are labeling him the next. Well, Khabib's not, but most of them are labeling this guy the next Khabib. He's a Dagestani. He trains with Khabib. Khabib says he's the best wrestler he's ever wrestled in his entire life, that he literally is going to run through this division and be a champion next. There's a reason that he's minus 345, but what's the bet here?
I mean, him in the over, if you're going to bet it. I mean, this would be a flag plant bet if it wasn't such a heavy line. Right. You know, if it was closer to 2, we'd probably flag plant it here. But I just can't take minus 345 in an MMA fight, even though it's so likely. In reality, I will most likely be taking him parlayed with the over, just because I think it's going to be a decision. Drew Dober is an extremely tough American wrestler with some great boxing. He's got the power to knock him out, but I don't think that'll happen. I see 3 rounds of some hard wrestling, hard, lots of fast transitions, scrambles off his back, Drew Dober off his back to get back up. And we should, it'll be interesting to see Makhachev's striking here. I think we will see a good bit of striking here as he looks to come in on the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see Drew Dober getting away from those takedowns for very long. You know what I mean? I think part of the reason Khabib is so okay with stepping away is he's making room for his protege to take over the lightweight division.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Wow. I don't disagree, but I'm gonna go ahead and give my piggy prop right now. My piggy parlay. I'm gonna take Makhachev parlayed with the style bender. I think that both big favorites. I don't know how to take the juice on that Izzy fight. It's really tough. And also, what I would like, and we'll talk more about it, is the over would probably entice me, but with Blachowicz, that scares me just a tad bit. So I think that I'm getting this at minus 135 odds, parlaying the 2 of them, big favorites, Izzy and Makhachev parlayed. That to me screams of value. I think that Makhachev's going to toss him around like a rag doll, like we've alluded to. The Dagestani, unbelievable wrestler versus a veteran who really doesn't even have that much wrestling experience. I mean, obviously has a ton of experience, but not to that level. So I'm going to parlay the 2. That's my pig prop of the week.
I like it. I might have to tail that guy.
All right.
You will see.
Let's get to the fun stuff.
The fun stuff. Cool.
The first of 3 title fights on this card. I don't even want to preface this. I want you to do it because you know how much I want to talk about it, because I've only got, I don't really have like favorites necessarily in the UFC. Like I know you love Stylebender. Obviously Connor's my guy. I'm just like everybody on God's green earth. But outside of that, you got to really watch guys for a long time to fall in love with them. And Aljamain Sterling is that guy for me.
Yeah, I think it's been since we hit on the Cody Stamann fight back in 2018 was when he really turned into your guy. You know what I mean? It was probably one of your big trigger pulls, we'll call them, the right before the fight type bets, and being just absolutely having great fights ever since. he's on a fight winning streak. He's got Brett Johns, Cody Stamann, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, and Cody Sandhagen. So absolute killers. Before that, he lost to a flying knee from Marlon Moraes, but he looked really good in that fight, and I probably would have beat Marlon. And that would make it an 8 winning streak because he beat Renan Barao and Augusto Mendez. So he's fought the who's who of the division. It's his time to shine. You've been saying you wanted to see him fight for the belt for a long time. So here it is, and we get him at a good line.
I was so heartbroken when he got the title fight, and then they had to reschedule it because Petr Yan had an injury or whatever it was, personal issues, whatever the case may be. And I was just torn to pieces because I thought that there was a chance that they were going to give the Yan fight to somebody else in the division, such as we know that obviously Cody was supposed to get the fight, at one point, which scared the shit out of me at first. But eventually it all came to fruition. Aljamain, the Funk Master Sterling. I mean, this is a guy that we're talking about and I talked about, Dominic Cruz being the same way. This is a jack of all trades. I mean, he's got extreme wrestling background. He was a D1 wrestler. The guy, he grew up in basically the Bronx of New York. His parents are from Jamaica, born there. He had brothers in gangs. He had to find another way out. And
he's a Matt Serra BBJ black belt as well.
Yeah. But he decided, he needed to find a way out. He wasn't going to go down that road, decided to go to a small school, D1, and moved his way all the way up to becoming a top contender, basically in the United States, even from a small school. The kid is truly a stud. He's also a really cool dude. So it's easy to root for the good guys.
Yeah.
Always easy to root for the good guys. He's really entertaining. And they call him the Funk Master for a reason. He's got a really funky style. He can do it standing. We've seen some flying backhanded hooks shots to the face. We've seen him grab Sandhagen from behind and submit him. We've seen this guy ground and pound. I mean, he really can do it all, but he's walking into a fucking brick wall because Petr Yan has got unbelievable takedown defense. He's probably the best boxer he's definitely the best boxer in the division, maybe one of the best pound for pound fighters in the UFC. But Vegas is telling us something, are they not?
That they are. Right now, last time I looked, it was minus 115, minus 115. We got to pick them on our hands.
We got to pick them from a defending champion. Huh? You smell that?
Very odd. It smells funny.
Something smells a little fishy here.
And the line is moved. It opened at like plus 120, plus 110, and has moved up to minus 115. So I hope you got in early because I did at minus 110 because we will see it move. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it move his way. I think that his lengthy, funky style is gonna give Yan issues, and I think he's gonna clinch up a lot.
Yeah, that's my exact handicap. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's all he's going to do. He's not going to stand there and box with Petr Yan. He's not an idiot. I mean, this isn't a Rosenstrike situation. I don't see that. He's just going to stand there and just let someone jab him in the face. Like, this guy's funky. He's going to do something.
I look forward to seeing him throw some calf kicks. I think the only way to neutralize a heavy boxer, just like Dustin did to Connor, is throw the calf kick. It doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't. If you want to stop the best boxer in the division, take out his legs so that he can't, he doesn't have that explosive power.
Wait, you're telling me
that's the most Aljo thing.
You're telling me you're not like Michael Bisping. You don't want to just eliminate calf kicks from the game and make it illegal?
Michael Bisping is my favorite.
I know. I really like him. I just thought that was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
I love it because he says stupid things like that and he doesn't care.
No, he's entertaining. I just messing around, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take my flag and I'm planting it right here on Aljamain Sterling money line. Give me him. I don't have a play on decision or win. This guy can submit you at any time. I think he could kick his legs out and maybe land a crazy shot. I think that Petr Yan, if he gets a little gassed, this is a title fight. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of rounds here. This isn't no gimme. I think that we can get a little bit later. He's got the cardio. We've seen Petr Yan slow down later in rounds at times. I think that he takes it a little bit deeper. He can land something, and I'm taking Aljamain to win this fight.
Well, Aldo showed that Jan did. I was so surprised when Aldo stopped throwing the leg kicks because they were really working and they were really hindering Jan's ability to explode with his favorite right hand. You know what I mean? He loves that right hook, and it just wasn't there. It was starting to slow down, and then Aldo just kind of gave up on it. You know what I mean? It was very odd. I thought it was working, but maybe that was just me. But we love Aljo's just ability to finish the fight from anywhere. You know what I mean? Whether it's a submission, whether it's a TKO, whether he just stands on the outskirts and uses his lengthy, funky, almost karate-like style to keep Jan out of the pocket. You know what I mean? And if Jan comes in too fast, well, he's going to go for the takedown and take him right down and, hold him there. Mm-hmm. So I love it. I personally have 2 units on Sterling.
I'm definitely throwing at least 4. You know how I am. I'm biased, and I'm gonna throw a hammer on it. But I mean, I'm not advising everyone out there to do that, but that's what I'll be doing. I did want to ask though, before we get to some of these other fights, because I mean, luckily we're making good time. We made sure that we had enough time to talk about these 3 title fights. But for the bettors out there, outside of just a money line grab, what else can you see happening? I mean, look at the over/under, a parlay, by finish, anything that stands out?
Nothing. Not for this fight. Absolutely not.
Okay. I think that this is impossible to cap because the 2 styles are so different.
They're so different. Both of them have excellent finishing power. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's nothing that says Jan doesn't hit him with a good hook and down goes Aljo. You know what I mean? Jan's got 1-punch knockout power. And he's got head kicks too. He head kicked Uriah Faber into the next life. So who knows? Aljo might underestimate his striking, and some strikes will come from different areas that he hasn't shown. And boom, Aldo's done. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Stick to a side. We're riding the Funkmaster side, but don't get too fancy here.
Yeah, I don't know if because this is on Zoom, it's being recorded, so there's really nobody listening, but apparently God is listening, or maybe Vegas has microphones attached to my house or something, because I just refreshed and Aljo's now favored -120. I'm telling you, something's fishy is going on here.
Man, it's coming, and it's coming fast. They know. Vegas knows.
And it's not hype train either. Like, Aljamain isn't really a household name at all.
I think sharp money. I think it's big money coming in early, trying to get the better line on them because they know where it's going to finish.
I like that. Well, guess what? I mean, we're recording this Tuesday night. It'll be released on Wednesday, and you guys will have plenty of time to get value early because, as we talked about, and we talk about every single episode, day of lines will go bonkers. And if we're already seeing sharp money coming in now, just wait till you see what happens Saturday when the hype train starts and we got promo videos flying out of left field, and you know that Aljamain is the bigger star name than Petr Yan. But enough about my boy Funkmaster. Let's get into the co-main event of the evening. Amanda Nunes versus the Lioness versus Megan Anderson.
The goat of all goats. I mean,
literally -1,200. I thought that I would have nothing to talk about here, but I actually do. And I'm going to kind of jump right into it first. I'm just going to go straight ahead with my bet. And we can talk about the fight a little bit after that, but I wanted to just bring it up straight up. I really I haven't seen that much of Megan Anderson. I mean, she really hasn't had that many fights in the UFC straight up. I think she's only got 4 fights and she's fought nobody.
One ended by that weird toe cut to the eye of what's her name? I forget who she did it to, but
Vieira or whatever. She had like a weird name. It was like a triple name.
Yeah.
But Megan Anderson, she's an Aussie. Very interesting story about her. I obviously did some heavy research when I'm looking at the betting lines, as I always do. This is a girl that was born in Australia, decided to go to the army, didn't know her way, was discharged due to suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and decided to pick up boxing. and from boxing, decided that she got into mixed martial arts. Immediately got into some, pre-professional, some, amateur fights. Was 4-0. Immediately got a shot at Invicta and just kept moving her way up. This is a girl with some serious boxing power. She can throw absolute hammers. She's gonna stand. She ain't not going to the ground unless Amanda puts her there. I think that the play here, and I've already taken it, I'm taking the over of 1.5. I think that Megan's going to be a little, she's probably going to be protective. She's not just going to throw the haymakers in a 5-round fight. I think she's only maybe had one 5-round fight in her career, if at all. I'm just talking off a whim here. Amanda only fights 5-round fights because she's the best ever. And, Amanda recently has gone the distance. She really hasn't. She's been kind of playing her game and kind of waiting she's doing what Valentina's been doing, which is feeling them out and just dominating the late rounds, literally just putting you on your back. Her grappling game has been out of control. I see much of the same here. Megan isn't going to just try to throw hammers at Amanda Nunes because that's not a recipe for success. Over 1.5, that is a low over under. I'm taking the over here.
I was gonna say ding ding ding, we're right on the money. I'm all over this. I got 2 units on it. Amanda, like you said, the Valentina game, you know what I mean? She is in no rush to go in there and finish anybody. After she finished Cyborg and Holly Holm, like now it's about showing everything else she could do, her grappling. And also I feel like there's a lot more pressure each win. You know what I mean? Cyborg, there's no pressure. You know what I mean? Everyone thought Cyborg was going to win. Mm-hmm. Then Holly Holm, there's still not really any pressure. Her first title defense after becoming champ. Like, I think as Joe Rogan was talking about this the other day, like it's hard to win for long periods of time. So there's more pressure each and every time. And that's why John Jones ended up fighting like he did at the end of his 205 run. Yeah. They think more. They don't want to lose everything they've worked for on one stupid punch, and they're smarter than that. So they know they can just fight their fight and absolutely dominate people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, we agree. That's what we think is going to happen here. We think she's going to come in here, throw some punches and put her up against the cage, not taking damage. You know what I mean? She doesn't want to take any damage at this point, and Megan Anderson is very, very long when it comes to women's mixed martial arts. You know what I mean? She's one of the tallest mixed martial arts fighters in the division. So
and she's got power. She's got power. Nunes isn't going to put herself at risk. She's going to try to, keep herself away. And I think she's just going to take her down just like she did in her last fight versus Randomie, I believe it was, where she just sat on her the whole time.
Yeah. She fought Felicia Spencer, but it
was the same thing. She literally just sat on top of her.
Type of fight. Felicia Spencer is just a fucking lunchbox with legs and arms and legs.
Bro, Felicia Spencer beat fucking Anderson.
I know. I'm saying, like, that fight, Spencer was literally just
box with legs.
Like, she was getting wrecked, and she came up fighting. Every time she got up, she came up throwing haymakers. Like, I think we'll call her the lunchbox
with legs, bro. That might be the caption of this episode, dog.
The lunchbox legs, bro.
I mean, like we said, from a betting perspective, not much else to talk about because if anything, honestly, I think Nunes by decision might be a play, but it's still going to be juiced as fuck. So it really isn't a good bet. So I probably wouldn't touch that. I think the over of 1.5 is the only safe play. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, if you really want to go contrarian, you could try to take Nunes by knockout, but guess what? You're still going to get worse odds than you would on taking an over-under because she's such a big favorite. That's just how favorites work. Even if you try to predict by TKO, by submission, by whatever, she's such a big favorite. It's probably going to be like minus 350 by just by decision, probably minus 450 by TKO. I mean, if the over-under is 1.5 in a 5-round fight, the TKO line is probably like 450, 500. I mean, it's not up yet from our book, but
I would not be betting against Amanda Nunes TKO. That's for sure. I mean, it's Amanda Nunes.
No. I'm talking about Nunes betting Nunes by TKO or submission. Like, there's not going to be any value.
I mean, choosing a decision here just gives her 5 rounds to put away Megan Anderson, I hate that. I absolutely, I mean, that makes no sense in my head. And I'm not saying you were saying to bet that. My personal opinion is betting a decision here would be that just gives too much Amanda Nunes time for a KO. You know what I mean?
If the
It's
line's
just
1.5 and it's not juiced, Vegas is telling us something yet again.
yeah, yeah. They
Which is
expect
why
it
I'm
to
a
be
little
50.
nervous about that over, but like I still think that that's the only play here. That's the only reason I'm suggesting this is I don't see any other play.
Yeah, exactly. And I really do like it. Back-to-back decisions for Nunes. Anderson's going to be playing very, very safe. I don't, and she can take a pretty good punch. She's been in some wars. So, you know, her she had one early loss and it was a submission. You know what I mean? Other than that, she either knocked somebody out or she went to decision. So, I don't see her. She's not going to knock out Amanda Nunes. So, I mean, the over here, we might bump the units up on that. Honestly, I'm convincing myself as we speak.
I have 2
But
units on it right now.
you know what I mean? She went to a decision with Holly Holm, and that was a great fight, honestly.
I got a
durable
housewarming party.
fighter.
I'm hosting a housewarming party on Saturday. God knows how many drinks are going to be in me. Whatever units I say here is what you take my word for, but what actually goes into my book, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. It's always a little bit more, that's for sure.
Right.
So let's get on to the
Wait.
main event of the evening.
Introducing
Love
first.
it. Introducing first.
As I got
sound.
as I got Bruce in my background, that's my boy. But the main event of the evening, I let you preface Aljamain for me, so I'll preface the style bender for you. We got Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, versus Jan Blachowicz. I hate saying that guy's name for some reason, but line sitting at minus 245 for Izzy. I already discussed my piggy parlay. I'm taking him with Makhachev. Makhachev. And Blachowicz is plus 190. Over under is 2.5. The over is minus 145. The under is plus 115. I already know what you're taking, but just tell everybody.
We're just flag planting on this motherfucker, and I'm gonna eat the juice. And, and I'm gonna eat all the juice. Give me all the juice. I love it. I'm going to take the big line here, and I'm going to risk to win two units. So for me, that's $50 out there, y'all. So it's gonna be like minus 120. It's gonna be like minus 235. So that's probably like 125 to win 150, something like that. Maybe 115 to win. 115 to win 50. But I got an interesting comparison here. I really do think it's going to be like the Costa fight.
122 to win 50.
Say that again?
122 to win 50.
122 to win 50. Lock it in.
You might need to make that a 3 or 4 unit banger, bro.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, and I might put 200 on it, but I really do think this fight has comparisons to Costa in the way that Jan fights. So he's a big bruising boxer. You know what I mean? He wants to step into the pocket, and he wants to get you to put yourself in danger as he waits. He's very patient as well, but as we've seen with the Santos fight, that gets him into trouble. So I think that Izzy is just going to puzzle Styleben. He's going to puzzle Jan. I don't think that he is overzealous. So we might get a kind of boring fight here, Unfortunately, I think he respects the power of Jan, and I think Jan respects the tactical skill of Izzy striking. So, the flag plan is because how much I believe in the bet, but that doesn't mean that I think it's going to be a barn burner, finger quote. But
we've talked a lot about lengthy guys.
Gonna just outclass him.
We've talked a lot about lengthy guys utilizing these calf kicks and these leg kicks, I think you're going to see a lot of that out of Stylebender. Keep his space. He is not risking getting knocked out by Blachowicz. No chance whatsoever. He's so good. I mean, honestly, I was thinking about it earlier, just like envisioning the fight in my head, and just he is John Jones 2.0. I mean, like the way he like covers his head every time he throws a strike, he's always waiting. Like he's just so coherent about his defense.
Striking defense is unreal.
It's unbelievable. And Blachowicz isn't going to be throwing fucking crazy kicks at him. So I think he's going to keep his space. He's got the crazy jab. I mean, he's got such long arms, obviously, as Stylebender does. The legs, you might see a lot of leg kicks. To me, this might scream, yeah, I think over seems like a fair bet if you're not going to take an actual winner and you don't want to lay juice. To me, that seems feasible. I already am going to take Stylebender in my parlay. I'm not sure I'm going to take an over-under. I think that with the knockout power of Blachowicz and the straight up the knockout power of Stylebender, and honestly, just everything from Stylebender, just kind of concerns me. But I also think that, like you mentioned, Stylebender in his interviews already, in leading up to this fight, it's always about. He's already thinking about his next fight, which makes me think that he is confident in his game plan, that he's just gonna like kind of point out a victory, kind of, just like one of those boring fights that he has. Because every other fight is kind of boring, not always, but
I just think that Jan's method to victory, Dominic Reyes played right into. Dominic Reyes comes forward, throws everything at you, wants to overwhelm you. Like, Stylebender's not doing that. Like, you have to come to him, and he'll sit there and wait on your ass, just like he did in the Romero fight. And I don't see Jan waiting like Romero did. I don't think he'll push forward with an incredible pace. But I see a boring fight, and a boring fight favors Stylebender. You know what I mean? Jan needs a brawl to win this. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you can't clip him, because realistically, if this was anybody else other than Stylebender, I would be on Jan, to tell you the truth. I probably would. But Stylebender doesn't put himself in those positions. And I think he's still on the uptick. You know what I mean? He's not even in his prime yet. You know what I mean? He's entering into his prime. This will be his full-blown prime. You know what I mean? Because he's still under 30. You know what I mean? And they really say that 30 to 32 is your true prime. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
the other thing to think about, I think, here that not everybody will realize, but it's something to factor in, is Jan Blachowicz has everything to lose. Izzy has everything to gain in this fight. Izzy's not Izzy's not fighting to relinquish his belt. He's fighting to win another belt.
Yeah.
I don't think people really realize that sometimes.
Yeah, how much champ really means, and how much going into a heavier weight class is going to, I think, help Izzy, because he's skinny. You know what I mean? Like, some people struggle when they get bigger, but I think for Izzy, I don't think the weight cut he's gonna put on a bunch of.
It came out today. It came out today. He said he's not going to put on any additional weight. He's already he's like 5 pounds under.
Yeah, he's going to be that much faster than the 205ers too. You know what I mean? That speed differential is huge. That's a 20-pound weight jump. You know what I mean? Now this could be a double-edged sword, and Izzy's never felt the power that Jan has. You know, Costa might have had similar power, but Costa didn't even punch him in the face. So yeah, you never know. But if it was, minus 300, I don't think I'd be taking it. But I like minus 235. That's a comfortable bet. And I just think he's that much better on the feet. And unfortunately, we see a boring, pointed out victory. But who knows? It could be another brawl. We'll see. Stylebender never fails to surprise.
That's a fact. Well, it's been an honor, but let's do a quick recap of our bets tonight. I'm fly planting Aljamain Sterling.
Do you have any crops? We forgot crops.
My fly plant is also my cash crop. I'm taking Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to ride that. I know it's biased. I actually, I might have 2 cash crops. I think my piggy prop crop. It's actually a parlay, but I really like Makhachev and Izzy parlayed. I think that at minus 130 is just beautiful odds.
Yeah, I'm gonna cash crop the Nunes over, and I'm gonna cash crop Askarov minus 130.
Yeah, Askarov. Hard name to forget.
Our cash crops and our flag plants are a little bit different, just so everyone knows. We might cash crop the same bet, but cash crops are about making you guys money, and our flag plants are our favorite. Absolute gut is telling us that we're going to win that. So just to kind of throw that out there for anyone who may be listening for the first time or is kind of getting it meshed up, our cash crops are really us trying to win you guys money and taking value bets. And then our flag plants are going to be just what our gut is telling us and what we really truly love and that we're smashing in our own personal books.
UFC 259 is going to be one for the books. We recorded this early in the week on purpose so that you can try to get some advantages on those books before lines go crazy over the weekend. We typically record later in the week. That is not typically conducive for placing UFC bets. As we know, getting early lines typically moves in your favor, but depends on which way you're looking at it. Sometimes if you're taking dogs, big dogs like you are going to ride, it does actually potentially benefit you day of. But I just want to do a quick recap. So my piggy parlay was Makhachev and Izzy. I'm flag planting and cash cropping both that and Aljamain Sterling at minus 110. It's already minus 120, so get those bets in ASAP. I also liked your dog of the day. So
El Marreta.
I like Thiago Santos, and keep an eye out for that prelim bet. What was against
minus 245 against Kennedy? We'll call him Zechu.
Yeah, Zechu. I like that. Well,
the
UFC
Nigerian.
59, me and you will finally be together to watch the fights. I'll be hosting a little party. Maybe we'll get some Instagram stories up there for everybody so that they can tune in with us. Maybe go live, something stupid, and really go over. But
let's go.
Aside from that, as we always do. What's up?
So let me throw them back out there, run back to you. I got my cash crops, Askarov minus 130 for a unit. We have Anderson Nunes over, cash crop for 2 units, over 1.5. Then we have my dog of the day, Santos plus 135 for a unit, Sterling minus 110 for 2 units. And then we have the flag plant with Izzy at minus 235. And I think I'm going to go ahead and throw a late parlay in with Ulberg and Makhachev. So that'll be my parlay on there. Minus 235 or minus 245 with minus 345 for Makhachev. So similar lines. Just I'll be taking kind of giving myself a little bit more exposure. I don't want that double loss on my flag plant with Izzy. So
you'll also be on Dominic Cruz, 1 unit.
Yeah. Oh, Cruz. I forgot about Cruz. 1 unit on Cruz.
I'm also taking Song Yadong money line. I'm sitting at minus 155 right now. Get that before it gets up to 175.
That one's going to run for sure. It'll be at minus 170.
I think so as well. But
all right, man, we kept it under an hour. Congrats.
Hey, well, as we always do, let's give a little preview of some of the fights to come. It looks like the next main event we will see is going to be Belal Muhammad picking up a late-minute fight versus Leon Edwards. Khamzat Chimaev potentially retiring. I think that may be something worth discussing. It looks like Dana says that that's not the case, but that was supposed to be the fight with Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards opening up minus 250 versus Belal Muhammad. Any early thoughts?
I mean, I'm glad we still get the fight, and Belal Muhammad is probably who I'll be on just because he'll be a big underdog. But that's an exciting fight. I mean, we get to see Leon Edwards really, really test his takedown defense. And
we just get to see Leon Edwards in general, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've been waiting to. He's a great fighter. I want to see him fight. You know what I mean? It's one of those guys. Like, so I can't wait. That's gonna be a great time. I got to run.
Last thing. This will be our next. I got to preview the next podcast for the barn burners, Miocic versus Ngannou #2. That's going to be in about three weeks. Dude, opening line, Francis Ngannou, -150.
All over that.
Like,
After listening to the podcast with Joe Rogan, did you listen to it?
no.
That's a different human being. We
Ngannou?
don't understand what he understands, bro. He looks at life in a different way. And dude, I was sitting there almost tearing up listening to the podcast. Like, it's crazy what he went through.
Ortega versus Volkanovski opening at -195, same card. Ooh, we might have a competition for card of the fucking year. And then you got Tyron Woodley versus Luque.
And Tyron. Ooh, oh, I love that fight for Tyron.
Me too.
Someone who's going to stand with him. Finally, someone who's going to stand with Tyron.
+207 right now.
Yeah.
So we got some fun stuff to talk about coming soon, guys. It's been an honor. The Barn Burners with the BernDawg himself and Brandon the Pig Plotnick. Always an honor.
Always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Get those cash crops in.